Hey guys, I'm Joel Haver and
I'm Mikey.
This is Mikey. And Mikey did the musical score for the new movie Hello My Beautiful Creatures. And when I think about making Hello My Beautiful Creatures, I think about it sort of in two halves. The first half was the month-long crazy time in Minnesota animating with Eric. And then the second half was a month and a half back here in LA where Mikey and I were just in a camp together. Every day I'd bring my laptop, my bag, check into this very room, and I would do sound design while Mikey did the score. And it was a very fun time. Yeah.
It was, oh my God, it was crazy. My apartment turned into home base for 3 weeks straight.
Yeah, we had a very routine schedule with it.
We didn't see outside these walls for so long.
Yeah, we would go on walks. We wouldn't be too sun deprived. But when I first came to you, because you had done a few songs for Anyone Else But Me, the February movie this year, and I came to Mikey and I'm like, hey, you want to do some songs for this movie? Because Eric and I had the idea of the musical numbers, and Mikey was totally game. And that spun into a musical score. And as you know, the movie wound up being 2.5 hours, which meant that Mikey had to make an hour and a half of music total, I think it wound up being.
Yeah, what was the original timestamp? You guys are gunning for like an hour and a half?
It was so hard to say because we just wanted to tell the story we wanted to tell. Like we wanted it to go any direction it needed to. And I said this in the previous video with Eric, we were really trying to hit 60 minutes at first. We're like, just because we thought it would take so long to get there, we're like, if we make a 60-minute stop motion. And then, as you found out, the story wound up just going and going and getting bigger and more personal and weird, and sort of ended up 2.5 hours. So you signed on, little did you know, to a movie that was way longer than any of us could have imagined. But you took it like a champ. And
thanks, man.
Every day I was so amazed. So our process was so fun because you would make something and then you'd show it to me. And you'd always have all these super creative decisions. I loved all the swells you did, all these little the bells in the intro.
I love the signal we had. Like every time you'd be on the couch and I'd be here, and every time I would take my headphones off, like you would look up, be like, "Oh, cool, it's time to hear
time
a
to
listen."
Stand up, give some notes if needed, and you always were a one-take wonder on the notes. If I had a note, you just nail it. So this was crazy, and you hadn't really done anything like this before, right?
No, this was the first. The first was you having me do like the dance scene in the February movie.
Yeah.
And like the little piano outro thing.
Yeah.
But it's been a dream to do. Like anything for a movie, a short, for literally anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, holy crap, this exceeded expectations and exceeded any. I didn't even know what I was signing up for. I thought the musical numbers would be harder than the rest of the score.
Yeah, the musical numbers were done first. Yeah. Those were the easy part.
That took no time. I mean, you wrote all the musical numbers.
Yeah, that was a fun little part of this. So Eric and his girlfriend have a piano, and fortunately I've been practicing piano for a couple years now. So when I was there, when we weren't animating, I was writing the songs and sending little voice memos of the songs to Mikey to then compose and make into these grand musical numbers. And then you sent me versions with your voice, and that's when we had different discussions about like, okay, who should play who, and Mikey wound up playing Carl's singing voice, which was funny because Eric is actually a great singer as well, and Eric played Carl. But we got Eric to record, and he was like, it was a lot of work to record that song, and Mikey had already done that work in his voice, and they sounded so similar for some reason.
If I didn't record and we threw Eric in, it's 1-to-1. We sounded identical. It was kind of creepy.
Your like big machismo singing voice was so similar to Eric's that it was like, okay, we're just gonna keep Mikey in because it worked, and you did a killer job singing.
Thanks, man.
And Mikey also, a little side note, he did some voice acting. Mikey plays Falling Freddy, which I'm like, who's a good person to scream help for? Like, there's so much of it in the movie, probably like 20, 30 minutes of help.
It's the first time I've ever blown my voice out.
Yeah, but you did great. This is maybe a dark thing to think about, but I initially was thinking of having my friend Molly play Falling Freddy, and then I had the thought, I'm like, do I want to go to a woman's apartment and have her scream help for 20 or 30 minutes? I'm like, probably not the best idea.
It's a good call.
So then I was like, Mikey, you could crush this. So Mikey crushed it.
Yeah, thankfully my neighbors didn't say anything.
Yeah. I had some loud screaming doing the temporary voice acting. That's another funny thing, because when I was doing the sound design for the movie, I was laying down a bunch of temporary voice acting to time the animation to. So as Mikey was sitting here scoring, he'd just suddenly hear me go, ah! Scream, or do some effort noise like, and I just hold my laptop up to my mouth and use the laptop mic, and all that got replaced with the good voice acting, but it was just to edit too. But it was a funny little room in here. To be a fly on the wall would just look like two guys working their asses off on the weirdest thing possible.
It'd just be the weirdest sounds every like 30 seconds.
Yeah, and I like with Eric and like with this whole project, I really had hopes to get this done, halfway through May or end of May, and it just kept getting delayed into June. And I just want to say thanks for sticking through it. It was a huge project, and it wouldn't be the same without your score. The creme de la creme, if that's even the right term, of the score for me is the finale, which I won't spoil. We won't go into spoilers here, but Mikey composed a 15-minute orchestral suite that is continuous it's all on the soundtrack, which is out on Spotify. And Drew, my friend Drew, did the album cover.
Dude, shout out Drew. He freaking killed that.
Drew did such a fun album cover for the soundtrack. We just thought it'd be cool to have a different album cover for the soundtrack. But that's on Mikey's Spotify. So check that out if you want to re-listen to any of the musical numbers or put on the score while you study or something. I was listening to it.
Crazy thing to study too.
It has a lot of ups and downs. But yeah, as somebody who never did this sort of orchestral stuff before, you crushed it. I mean, it's just beautiful. Man. It's so beautiful and so tonally appropriate when it needs to be. I love the little romantic things, the boy and the girl, the swells. It's just so... It's so nice. And one thing Eric and I did while animating the movie, because we had nothing to do but listen to stuff and talk while we were painstakingly animating, one thing we did was listen to a bunch of musical scores we loved.
What was the Italian one?
The Italian one we found is called like Lovebirds. It's really good. It's this thing called Lovebirds. It's a movie, totally forgotten Italian like sexploitation movie from like the 60s or 70s. But the score for some reason has kind of gotten traction on Spotify. And it's just these really beautiful songs. Yeah, some of them have like 2 million plays.
Oh my God. I mean, deserved. They're really pretty.
They're gorgeous songs. But we listened to that, the Punch Drunk Love score, Synecdoche, New York. And one of the first things Eric showed me, funnily enough, this is a funny anecdote, is he showed me this guy, Carl Kokomo. And that was my only reference I sent to Mikey for the Carl songs. Because Eric loves like oldies music. And like 40s, 50s. And Carl Kokomo is this guy who did this I forget what it's called, Paradise or something. But it's just an old musical. And there's an album of it. And it's these very old, tinny sounding songs of a man, oh, hear my love. It's crazy. And it's so great. And I'm like, if we could even capture part of this for like the character Carl, who is named after Carl Kokomo, because we're like,
I didn't even put that together until now. Oh my God.
That guy's like,
that's so sick.
We just looked at that little freaky Carl doll and we're like, this guy looks like that singer. This guy looks like...
Yeah, because the cover is like a drawing of him.
Yeah.
It's like a big caricature.
Yeah, so that was fun. And then now the full circle of that conversation is like, I love this score so much. I was just listening to it in my van driving around.
Really?
That you made, because I'm just like, oh, this is such a lovely score. It has so many lovely songs, and it nestles right in with all those great musical scores that guided us through animating the movie. So it comes full circle.
Man, I was so worried that doing everything like scene by scene or just like chunk by chunk, that it would lose a bit of like a flow. Like we would get to the end and then we'd start like playing all the songs in order and be like, oh, this all feel like individual things. But luckily it didn't feel like that at all. Like everything felt so just like fluid.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think the whole thing has such a great storytelling to it through the music. You know, I was listening to the score and I'm like, oh, the ups, the rises and the falls. It's like, knowing the story, you could picture it all happening without watching it, but because the music is so complimentary, but never overbearing or never exaggerative. It always just compliments. So you did a great job.
Thanks, man.
And it was an honor to work on this with you. And a couple more shout outs. We got Sophie Hollahan.
Shout out Sophie Hollahan.
She did the Little Girls 2 songs, and she also sang a song at the ending, which feels like a spoiler, so I won't go further, but it's all on the Spotify soundtrack.
You can spoil it for yourself on the soundtrack.
Yeah, but Sophie did an amazing job. There was a weird little thing we were wrestling with throughout the movie where initially your friend Katie, who deserves a giant shout out here.
Yeah, shout out Katie for doing all that work in the beginning.
Katie Turner, is that
Katie
her name?
Turner. Yeah.
Katie Turner, Mikey's friend, sang those songs originally and did an absolutely beautiful rendition.
They're insane.
But the more we watched it, like Mikey sounded a lot like Carl. I sang as the little boy. And it just didn't match the character voice. So then Sophie came in and did a little girl version of it, and we wound up going with that. And I just want to give a huge thanks to Katie Turner for laying down these beautiful renditions. Maybe at least one of them will see the light of day in some deluxe version.
We could put a deluxe version out.
Yeah, a deluxe version. Maybe include some of my voice memos on there or something. Just like a little.
We got Mitzi's version too.
Hey, we got Mitzi. Yeah. We tried a lot of different things for this soundtrack, and I'm so happy with where it wounded up.
It turned out perfect.
Yeah, it's really just a great movie, and I'm so glad that I said this to Eric, and I'll say this to you, and I think I probably did say this to you, but one of my big takeaways from this movie is like, I only knew you kind of on an acquaintance level, and Eric I only met one time a couple years ago. And probably one of the greatest things to come from this movie is just strengthening our collaborative relationship and our friendship so strongly. Like you and me, I've spent more time with you than anyone this year, save for Eric, you know, and same goes for Eric. Just like now I feel like we've talked about everything and we know each other so well, and I feel that with you. So if there's somebody you really admire their work and you like making stuff, make stuff together. You'll become fast friends with that
Dude,
person.
It's beautiful. It's such a cool side effect to just diving into a huge project.
Yeah,
you inherently just spend so much time and get to kick it, and it's awesome.
Yeah. We got some good food. You cook some ziti some nights.
I forgot we had a ziti night.
You cook ziti.
Dude,
I cook some
like
pasta.
every night.
I cook some tacos. Oh, you got Bernard in the movie who plays the squirrel.
Bernard, dude, shout out Bernard.
Yeah, he was Mikey's friend. Mikey brought a lot of people on board. Bernard played the squirrels, spoke Cantonese, and that was very useful for the movie because we needed that, of course. We needed Cantonese
needed Cantonese.
Yeah, and he did so great, and he's such a cool guy. And it was just a process like no other. I've done scores for my movies. I've had friends make scores, and it's always been great. But I've usually done it at a distance. Like, I usually do the score where I'll send them the scenes and get it back in a few days with a score or this or that. But working in this really intimate, like, in-person setting just works so much better. And we saw it firsthand. Like, the days where we weren't working together were just a little more off balance. Like,
they were way harder.
Yeah, they were way harder. Yeah. Harder to get motivated not working next to somebody. Harder to harder to like give the notes because you have to send it, I have to plug it in, and then I have to send you the notes. It's so nice that I could just like watch it live here at that. Yeah, it was just a great process, and probably what I hope to do on more movies, because I think it lend itself to such a purposeful score, and such a huge part of the movie. Like I keep saying, this movie's just a 3-man operation, save for the voice acting. Like the voice acting and the singing that other people did made this movie what it was, and I don't want to detract from that, but like this was just the pure blood, sweat, and tears of 3 people, you, me, and Eric. We
So
put
crazy.
months of our lives into this, and I'm very proud of it, and I'm proud of you for undertaking this and passing with flying colors.
Dude, I'm proud of you. This is an insane undertaking.
Yeah, it was insane, and yeah, I guess that's all I really have to say. Do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you want to share?
We have to share the songs, the Udio songs.
Yeah, that is true. I wonder when we would, maybe even at the end of this video.
Wait, that's a sick closer.
I mean, do I play the whole thing? So
Just front to back the entire song.
one thing we did, we were messing around. They have those AI music generators, which are just fun to mess around with. And we made a song to encourage us to get back to work. And it's been stuck in our head ever since. And
It's so good at doing it.
maybe we'll just say bye here and play just a bit of that song just for ha-has. It's just made by AI, so it's not like we're proud of it, but it's very funny.
I'm so proud of it. It got me so hyped.
I'm proud of how hype it got us.
Yeah, it did.
All right.
All right.
I love you guys, and I love movies. Bye-bye.
We love movies.
We love movies. And then strike a pose.
Mikey and Joe, you have to get to work. Don't you know this movie ain't gonna make itself? Just try it, sit back and see if the movie makes itself. It won't get to work, you nasty fuckers!
That's going to be what the score plays over.